Hello and welcome to this edition of the Law Firm Blueprint. I'm one of your hosts, Jay Ruane, CEO of the Criminal Mastermind, as well as Ruane Attorneys. But that guy over there in the bright red shirt today, I never see you in a bright red shirt.
Gotta keep it mixed up.
It's Red Sox colors. I guess, maybe Giants, but Giants is blue, right? So anyway, that guy over there is Seth Price, CEO of Blue Shark Digital, as well as managing partner of Price Benowitz, your powerhouse. Oh, awesome. Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, South Carolina, Idaho, Washington State, Oregon, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Timbuktu. Seth, how's your week going this week?
Going well. I know there's a Jets fan, you probably would have taken this, but a draw to the Commanders, brutal. But it's been a good week. I'm looking forward. We got a great interview coming up today with the women who are running the league. From Blue Sharks, all in on that. And things are clicking. Good stuff. End of year, we're spending a lot of time working on what bonuses we're paying out. And you know what? I got a topic that I want to throw out to you.
Okay.
Which is top of mind. What are people's thoughts when you have a decision? Let's say you have a staff member and they're at 70. And there's inflation and you need to be able to get that salary up potentially because you want it's an important staff member, and you have $5,000 that you feel should be bonused. Let's say it's been a good year and you want to bonus them. How do you allocate that between bonus, where you're saying, hey, here's $5,000, you're still at 70, versus raise? Assuming, again, you can always say both, but that I'm saying, assuming finite resources, are you better off with saying, thanks so much for the year, here's $75,000 next year? Are you better off saying, here's $2,500 of a bonus and $72,500 next year? Which, every $5,000 you go up makes somebody more likely to be sticky and not looking around for money somewhere else. Is the bonus thought of as salary? How do you sort of allocate bonus versus salary?
Okay, so my first thing is get this raise conversation away from the end of the year. I do my stuff in August and September because I specifically don't want it to come into the time around when potential bonuses are coming out. So that's the first thing. Second thing I do is I actually tie bonuses for not only my intake team, but for my legal operations, paralegals, and support staff team to certain KPIs per quarter. And so we set at the beginning of the quarter, here's what your bonus is going to be. And the bonuses are going to be if you hit these KPIs. So they know what that's. So there's no holiday bonus in my world. I don't believe.
Right. And I guess, and this is something that's interesting because we started that way as a law firm when we were purely criminal defense, that we put most of our money into raises. I've had another sort of pivot question, which is 401k match versus taking that money and putting it to salary. I get dinged for not matching, but I try to throw every dollar I can on top of salary. What's the right answer?
The problem with this, no, because, well, in my opinion, it's not, because in 401k match is here's, and this is funny because this is something that I talked about a little bit in the Law Firm Growth Summit earlier this week. All of us as lawyers and as business owners tend to suffer from something that's called deformation professional. All right. And I know it's a little fancy words there for you, but that is his tendency to look at the world through your specific eye viewpoint.
So talk to me.
So I believe, and this, I've gotten this from employees who have departed in their exit interviews. So that's why that they look at 401k match as free money. Whereas if you're putting it onto their salary, they're earning that money. So if you're say you have somebody who's making $75,000 a year and you're matching, and they're putting $2,500 into their 401k and you're matching that much, right? Whatever the numbers work out, they see it as they're getting a free $2,500 from you. You're paying out you're paying out essentially $72,500. Right? Because they're getting 70, they're putting in money, and you're matching it sort of to 72.5. You take them and you give them a salary of 72.5. Well, they're working for that. Nothing's free. There's no extra bonus for them. So even though you're
Understood, but
getting
when
them
you
more money,
agreed, and I look, this is why. Okay, so now they're at 72.5. I started the first part of the conversation. You take the $5,000 bonus. We'll go back to that in a second. You take 2,500 of it and you put into salary for next year instead of into bonus, hypothetically, right? Now they're at 75. They're one notch when they look around and look at salaries. Now, in theory, they could say, hey, it's 75, but this guy has a match and that would bring it down. So a rational player, this should come out. The question is top line salary significant in retention?
I think top line salary is significant in retention, but we're not talking, a $10 or a $20,000 swing.
No, but $5,000 is not nothing. And
yeah, but the $5,000 that they're getting is their weekly paycheck that's going to pay their bills.
I hear you. No, and that's why I'm asking it. I'm not saying I have a. I'm not saying.
And that's why I go.
Can we get this out? Let's get this out on the blue, because I'm very curious how people think of it, because in a competitive market, top line salary means a lot, right? You want to be able to be competitive there.
Sure.
And is the question, you just said it's free money, is it valued? Do people, if you have, hypothetically, I just had a decision, do I include disability insurance for the firm? And ironically, DC, I'm sorry?
You don't have that already?
We don't have like a long-term disability. This is
I mean, maybe I'm bad. I max out 401k matches. I have long term. I have short term. I give them everything, and people are still left to go to jobs that don't have those things.
Well, no, they're cold, but Jay, but that's my question. Did any of those people leave for money?
I don't think they left for
money. But again, and there's no good answer, right? I admire the way that that's done. I have seen that for us, that part of it is, one of the thoughts is, I want to give people money and they can do what they wish with it. Meaning, if they have more money, they could put more into their 401k pre-tax, and that's their decision. If they want it now, they can do it now. And so again, this is one of those things that, like, a lot of we're going to hear, part of the next segment where we have people talking about the struggles that women have. The struggle of a business owner is, it is lonely, and you're sort of in your own silo. And what is right? Look, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing, and you're also in a rural Connecticut area, from my perspective.
Rural.
We're not rural. I meant like
neighborhood works in New York City. It's not rural. We may be
right, but you're not competing with New York. But you're not competing with New York salaries, are you?
Oh, absolutely.
So I mean, that's
I'm
right.
competing with New York salaries I'm in Fairfield County, Connecticut. We're like
right, but you have a discount because what does a commute to New York cost from your train station?
$400 a month
plus time. Plus
yeah.
Everything else, plus gas to get to the station, plus, expensive meals in New York when you're having lunch, et cetera. My point is, I have equated, for me, and this is not even Connecticut to New York, which to me is a huge chasm, just suburban Maryland into DC is a $5,000 to $10,000 a year swing. When people went virtual, our perspective was, it was internalized, and this was anecdotally, at a $10,000 raise. By not having to get parking did that include parking at the train station? For us, people have to pay for parking at Metro. They have to pay for Metro. They have the time involved, all those things. I used to think it was around $5,000. It's probably about $7,000 or $8,000 of actual value by not having to commute into the city.
So then let me ask you this. When people were away, did you not give raises then? Because they were seeing more in their dollar in their pockets?
I think that there was a lot. Two things. During COVID, when the numbers were much lower, we were not in the market of doing massive raises, and people were happy to have their jobs. But then second thing happened, we started seeing that great resignation. It's hard to remember that far back, where people were making these moves. And I know for myself, and I've spoken about this, that entry-level jobs in DC went from 35 to 42 with a little bit of overtime to 52 overnight. Nobody sent me the memo, but it was clear the market had shifted. Part of the reason that we jumped on the international component so quickly. And I got another dovetail for that before we get to the women I'll go to. But just wrapping this up, remind me to come back to the international question. But talk to me a bit about, when you're doing this. So right now you don't have the commute. Now New York can compete better if they're allowing people to hybrid or work from home. And all of a sudden, has that affected you at all, that some of the New York places seem more desirous to go to the prestige of a New York office while not having to be there?
Yeah, well, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing some of our people, New York is saying come in 1 day a week, and we're
And that's cool. That's almost
people
better.
are like, people are like, wait a minute, I get the prestige of New York, I get the salary of New York, but I'm only working there 1 day a week. What they
And I get to go in that night and go to I mean, again, I'm not go to a show, have a dinner, have a lunch in the, that's a pretty cool. I take that gig.
Yeah,
Get me to New York 1 day a week.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind it, to be honest with you, but I don't know, maybe I would after a while. But it's funny.
We go to that burger and lobster place every day.
I wouldn't go back there. Seth and I had lunch at a burger lobster place, and it wasn't that good. I would go back for like 5 napkin burger for sure. That's where we should have gone, but we were just wandering around.
Okay, I got something. I got a final topic. Unless you want to finish up with something on this.
Okay.
So this is the final topic I got for you for this was, okay, I'm sitting there. Thanks to Jay, we got a kick in the ass and we built out our international team. Very proud of it, right? We got people who were speaking English, who had been living in the U.S., school in the U.S. We really did a very nice job. Some of those people are on intake, and we've heard a recorded call with the ultimate cringe, where somebody asked where somebody lived, and they asked if it was in Virginia, and it was an obvious answer. And I realized that I missed a step. I guess we're getting 90-95%, people are talking about it, but I have not seen anybody do this at scale. Rob Levine's talked about this, but it's not being offered third party yet, is when we're doing these, we're bringing people in. They're part of our community. We're including them in our stand-ups. We're including them we have virtual office parties. We're doing all those things. Great. But we have not taken the time on certain culture touch points, not culture, firm culture, but geography, politics, sports. And again, I don't know if you're already doing it, but we are just launching a program which will be including these topics in some sort of quiz show format to make sure that when somebody says, did you see the Commanders game? They're not going to say, what's that?
So this is really interesting, because this is something that has come up recently to my audience, my clientele, because we had some trouble with people were coming by a local office and saying, I think I'm outside your building, but they weren't quite sure. And the person who was remote had no idea if they were actually outside the building, because they don't know what the building had looked like. So what I did was, luckily I have an in-house videographer now and a marketing person. And so what I did is I actually tasked them with creating a 45-minute welcome to Connecticut YouTube video. It's not necessarily something I could show to the whole audience, because we do talk about certain things in there, but maybe I can sanitize it and link to it in the Blueprint Facebook group in January. I'll get to work on that. But we talk about, just so you know, we talk about where we are geographically in the world, what our weather patterns are like. We actually have built into Slack here's the daily weather that's in Connecticut, so that all of my remote people know if it's snowing or raining, so that if that comes up over the phone, they get that information. We talk about Yankees and Red Sox. We talk about Giants, Jets, and Patriots. We talk about the culture of Connecticut, which is
you're half a step ahead, but nobody gave us a memo that said, I should have just, hey Jay, what do I need to do next? I didn't go to you.
That's the biggest thing. You just got to say, what am I missing here, Jay?
But you don't always, right? And that
I only got it,
my kids and everything else, but.
Yeah, I only got it because somebody was outside of my office up in New Britain saying, I'm in front of a brick building, but there's two of them here. Which one is yours?
Well, right. And look, we all have our holes. For me, that was never a hole because I was so paranoid. We haven't talked about this in a long time, but historically, Google would call and try to find out if you had a bullshit office. And they'd call you from a 650 number, some guy in India, and ask you questions, what's the coffee house name next to your place? And if you didn't get it, they'd take you off the map. It was a big deal for a long time. And that I haven't heard as much of that. I haven't seen those test calls in a long time. I don't get them, but we always had binders for everybody when we were in the office, where you knew everything geography wise that was there. Right now, we have so few people coming to the office. It's been less of a concern. But Jay, you're exactly right. But the question is, yes, it's geography. It's, you know, greater geography for your state. You just want to be able to make sure that when somebody calls, yes, there may be a little accent, but you want to make sure that they're not feeling the fact that that person is not somebody they can relate to. You don't want that, as my kids would say, cringe moment.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And folks, if you're doing this right now, I got to tell you, I went to the effort of actually creating a video because I couldn't necessarily find exactly what I wanted, but I guarantee you there are videos, half hour, 45-minute videos about your local area already existing on YouTube, all about Tennessee that you could give them, or all about, you know, Dothan, Alabama. You could give them so that they at least have something to work off of. It's not perfect, but it's better than starting.
Let's take it back a step, Jay. Not everybody's crazy like you with an in-house videographer is going to do all that. How about just here's a map? Look at here's a map. Here are the list of for us, counties or cities within it. And just so that those names are in their mind, you know, just there's a certain amount of spelling bee, making sure that you've heard of the name before at some level, so it's not a blank stare. You know?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's the kind of stuff that you need to do to make sure that you're
right. So I just had the epiphany that I was not just geography, but sports, pop culture, because I've taught, again, this was pre-COVID, everybody in-house. I had rules. If somebody called from 215, I'm like, is it Pat's or Geno's? You know, it was like there were touch
Tony
points.
Luke's is what the answer is.
I understood, because that was even better, right? No, it's neither. It's Tony Luke. That's the point. If it, you know, if it was
for us, it's Sally's or Pepe's, right?
Understood. But is it 312? You know, is it Cubs or White Sox? The answer is don't like baseball, fine, but at least you're demonstrating something. And I feel like I've lost that. We got the cost down. We have people there. The calls are being answered. So this is part of when the people talk about, oh, your intake sucks. Like, it's a whack-a-mole game, right? You need enough staff. Oh, salaries went up 40%. Nobody told you. Right now you've done that. We're having these discussions about where to allocate 401k money versus bonus money, complicated formulations. Then those people either, you know, have job turnover and or burnout or whatever, you know, whatever it is. I'm talking about intake specifically. There's no magic answer. But if we're going to do this, and I applaud you, I really thank you very much for having given me this, you know, this push to sort of say, hey, this is global, and that we can go everywhere, but it's not set it and forget it. And the idea is it's not a free lunch. And that if we don't do these things, and again, if you have the resources for a video, great. If you don't, here's a freaking list of these things and just talk about it during your meeting.
Yeah, talk about during your meetings. I like doing the video so I don't have to do it during the meetings. That's I
understood, but not everybody has that bandwidth or resource. And again, do what you love. If you love that, great. And that may be it because it's sustainable. I'd love to turn it into a training where it's then part of it and you don't have to re-say it. But I feel like if it becomes part of this, and that's, my hope and wish is that it becomes something that people enjoy because they're learning about the United States, how a bill becomes a law, get some of the old cartoons. You know, what are these things that make people more connected in understanding what's going on?
Speaking of how a bill becomes a law, our good friend, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm going to segue. Our good friend Trayvon, who won an Emmy for his work on The Daily Show,
amazing
about
guy.
how a bill becomes a law now, when he did that segment on The Daily Show. If you haven't caught it yet, watch 38 at the Garden, all about Linsanity from.
I watched it. That was, I forgot it was him.
Yeah.
I watched it and sent him a note afterwards. Amazing documentary.
All right. So before we get too far afield, although the show's already
let's flip straight to the league. Let's get these guys in.
All right, let's take a quick break. I'll cue up the cameras. We'll be back.
Let's tell them what's coming, right? We have Carson and Melissa coming, and they are the co-founders. I know Malini's involved. Blue Shark's a digital partner for these guys, but it is an amazing organization that is working on bringing women within the legal sphere together. They're kicking off at the National Trial Lawyer Association conference in January. Jay, flip us to them.
All right, cool. We'll be right back. Just give us literally like 5 seconds. I just got to bring the cameras up. We'll be right back.
We are back. Carson and Melissa, great to have you here. Nalini has talked nonstop about the league, and we're thrilled to have you guys here to fill in our audience on what is going on. Melissa, what is the league?
Oh, thank you so much. And thanks for having us on. I'm so excited to be here and to be talking about this. Carson and I have been working for, a good year on the back end, kind of conceptualizing what we've built in the league. And the league is a community for all women in legal. It really is sort of emulated and inspired by my relationship with Carson. And this last year being by far the most difficult year in my life, and really kind of seeing a lot of those relationships and friendships that I have had in the industry, and seeing those really develop and grow throughout this last year. So Carson really just stepped up in the most profound way this last year, as really starting as a colleague and somebody I worked with in the industry, and really becoming a best friend, and then seeing how that has changed our lives, our relationships, our business. And Carson came to me, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, 7 months ago, and was like, what if all women in the industry had a connection like us? What if every woman in the industry had one person that they can call, one person that they can go to for professional advice, personal advice, a crisis, right? What if every woman in this industry had one person to show up for them? And so we built it, and we really said, okay, who do we want to be part of this team, and how are we going to do this? Because we can't do this on our own. It goes against what it really stands for, which is a community. But B, we have all these different connections, and Carson and I are on very different parts of the industry. And when we came together and said, who do we want to help conceptualize this and build this and turn this into something that's going to be impactful and real, and so we literally went through our network of who are the women that inspire us the most, and who are the women that just get shit done. And we built this amazing board of just powerhouse women. And we've been meeting weekly since that day. And it's been the most exhilarating, energizing experience of my life, building this with her. And we've launched now and gone live, and starting Q1 2023, we're really launching as an educational platform, focusing on 4 pillars: personal development, professional development, individual financial management, and the celebration of women through philanthropy. So super excited to get this going and to get the word out there and get every single woman in every single office across the industry, attorneys, vendors, paralegals, administrative personnel, law students. This is for all women in the industry.
That's awesome. Carson, I know you have a front seat to one of the greatest organization building, juggernauts out there, between NTL and association management and everything else. Tell me a little bit about what you've learned working within this Dothan, Alabama juggernaut has been sort of empowered you to help take this brain trust and try to make it into something really substantial.
Yeah, I work for Legal Associations Management, and so we own and operate a variety of specialty associations across the legal industry. The one that we are most well known for is the National Trial Lawyers, and we're very proud of that. Through my experience working with associations and what I see the importance of networking and building these relationships across the country, not just in your local areas. And that's something that National Trial Lawyers is really proud of themselves on and really worked hard to create that type of community. So we wanted to take that same type of model and apply it for women. So the National Trial Lawyers is obviously made up of trial lawyers. And then you have associations like NTVA that are for vendors, but there's nothing that bridges that gap. There's nothing that fits the mold for your marketing personnel, your staff personnel, your support people. There's nothing that fit for a category like myself, for example, because I'm not a vendor, I'm not an attorney, but I live and breathe in the legal industry, and I love it. And I love working in this industry, and I love meeting women that enjoy that. And so Melissa has been so encouraging and empowering, because she's just kind of a badass woman. And she was like, you have all these resources, you have all these connections. Let's do this. Let's expand it. So through the support and love from Keith Givens and Chase Givens, it's been a really good experience.
Awesome. So question, as we sort of wrap up the segment, how do people get involved? What's the next step?
So you can join at the www.theleague.law. So since we are a new organization and we're going to be kicking everything off in 2023, instead of a membership fee, which we will apply in 2023, we're asking for a donation. So it's whatever you want to donate to the organization. It can be very small, it can be very big, but we want you on this journey. So once you donate, you can become a member, and then you are part of the community, and we'll be doing educational programs, virtual meetups throughout the year. It's very exciting. It's just a really good way to bring all women together.
That's awesome. I know Blue Shark is really excited to be part of it and working with you guys as a digital partner. Jay, any final question?
Yeah, it sounds amazing to me because, in every industry, but especially in the law, something like this is I think is needed. It's time. And I think it's going to be wonderful for the women that are out there. I know I have 7 rock stars in my office, and I'm going to encourage them to participate because, it's this journey of being a lawyer. Sometimes, even if you are in a firm, is incredibly lonely because you do spend a lot of time at your desk, just working on your file. And there's a sense of vulnerability to even just admit that you are in need of support. And my wife's an attorney that works with me, and we've had heart-to-hearts about expressing this vulnerability and how she feels intimidated in some aspects to actually express it when I'm trying to be as supportive as possible. And I've had her go to the other women in the office and try to encourage these conversations, but to see it happening on a national level, I think is really going to help, because there are solos that are out there that don't have it. There are other people connected to the legal industry that don't have this sort of outlet. And I think it's going to be a fantastic solution to really sort of lift all, a rising tide lift all boats. And I think it's going to be something that's really impressive.
That's on our website.
Is it really?
It is.
That's awesome.
It's on our website.
But that's really what it's all about. I mean, look, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I don't know what it's like. I'm a white male in a white male dominated industry. So for marginalized people, for women, for people of color, I can try to be as inclusive as possible, but there are just some experiences I will never get to have. And I don't understand them. I want to help, but even trying to help, I could be misguided. So I think having a forum where people can talk about this, help do some education, and also really just provide the support that's necessary is going to be life-changing for a lot of people. I really commend you for what you're doing.
Thanks. We wanted to create a safe place for women to not only be vulnerable, like you were talking about, but also have the courage to be ambitious, because inherently a lot of times it's kind of, oh, well, you stay in your corner, and it takes another powerful woman, because when it comes from a man, it's just like, oh, well, that's too aggressive, or I'll be seen a different way. But when you have a group of women that are encouraging and supporting you, you really can go places. And we just believe that there's power in numbers, and I'm very excited about what the community is going to do.
And Jay, to your point, I just am really thankful for your allyship there too, because I think as much as it's so essential that all of us women work together and band together in order to elevate one another within the space, personally and professionally, we need allies. We need all of the men on our team helping us accomplish this. We do live in this male-dominated space. However, it's really the face of the industry that's male-dominated, because when you look at the offices across the country, most of them are primarily run by women. So what are we doing to support those women in the space? And a lot of those women are not on the circuit, and they're not at these conferences, and they're not at liberty to create these networks.
They're back getting stuff done.
Right. Exactly. Backbone.
Exactly. So this is really essentially creating that opportunity for all of these women. But again, having all of the men going back to their offices and saying, hey, there is this organization that exists now. I want you to become a member. I encourage you to become a member. I want you to be involved, and really sort of empowering them to do that. We need that. I mean, essentially, we can't do that without you, and we're stronger by doing it together.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, Carson, Melissa, thank you so much for sharing this. Excited to see what's coming forward in 2023. And I assume there'll be a big NTL kickoff for this.
Yes, our first event, that's going to be our first meetup to kick off the league. It's just supporting women and showing up for one another.
I will be there, and I can't wait to toast it with both of you guys.
Thanks.
Cheers. Thank you.
Awesome.
We'll be right back.
Awesome. Well, Seth, that was great. I mean, I definitely believe that the league is going to really sort of help elevate the conversation, provide a forum for women that may not necessarily even be lawyers, but attached to the legal industry to get their voices heard. Over the last decade or so, we've seen that there is strength when one starts to speak out and others can follow. So I think there's nothing but good that'll come from this. What do you think?
No, absolutely. Like, I've watched through Nalini's eyes. She's attended a lot of the conference with me around the country, and there are issues that she faces that I just don't. She's trying to get breast milk through security at after pumping. It's how do you deal with certain issues remotely where again, certain issues that we just don't face day to day. So very excited for the league, because I feel like it's going to, there's a real place for community and communication that it will be a welcome addition to our world.
Yeah, I'm really psyched. It's funny, coming off the top of the show, I wanted to talk to you about something that we talked in our pre-show about, should I be opening a new office for $1,000 a month or taking that $1,000 and putting it into digital. So I'm going to put a pin in that, make you guys think about it, make everybody here in the Law Firm Blueprint know that that's coming in the next week.
And you know what? I'm going to throw it, because $1,000 is not realistic anymore. Most people that are opening a real office in most markets, it's not 1,000, it's 2,500. Can we use that as a number? Is that a fair number? Because again, 1,000 is one of those numbers. It's almost like a desk now versus an office. And I say that because I literally, a friend of the show had this issue with where it's a real office, 2,500, 3,000, because that is a meaningful office. And the question is, do you build and grow into that? Or do you go with a different strategy? Because the 1,000, most people, I should say many people, don't have that as a real office threshold. That might be a desk, but not more.
Okay. So let's take it. How about we take it 1,500, 2,000, 2,500? I mean,
1,750 sold.
Okay, done. That's going to be it. Should I take my 1,750? Because my question is, I'm going to leave it at this is, 1,750 and more pay-per-click gets me in cases, but with the push towards local, having a new address that's 30 miles away, I could be on the maps and maybe people, there is something to be said about the legal consumer that still wants to have a local lawyer. Rather than go 75 miles to find a specialist. I don't know why, because if you got, if you need special surgery, I'm 70, I'm like 40 miles away, but I'm going to the hospital for special surgery in New York City.
Yeah, but it's also a question of what level it is, right? Are you going away for the rest of your life, or is this a question of whether or not, you're paying points, ticket or points? So those things go into the mix, I think.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's figure that out for next week's show. We can talk a little bit. I'll do some research. There is some other stuff that I want to talk to you about. This this Chat GPT, which is the open AI that Elon Musk got with in 2015 and then left. But they're now writing content and answering questions they're saying could be the end of Google search entirely, because you can have a one-on-one conversation with them and they can do the research for you rather than that a human would do. So there's a lot of stuff out there. I mean, we're coming towards the end of this year, which blows my mind.
We got to add to the. I love those topics because I want to talk AI, because it's like I'm perplexed. I love the concept. Google's telling us to watch out, but let's also talk about what we talk about. We should be looking at expenses and negotiating them. But what are you checking with your accountant to see what you want to be prepaying for 2022, for 2023 in 2022 to get the write-off.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm debating whether or not to buy a car. I love not having a car payment, and I haven't had one for 3 years, but I could buy myself a new truck and get accelerated depreciation on it. So these are the things I got to worry about, I guess. All right, that's going to do it for us, folks. As always, catch us every week, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, here live in the Facebook group. As always, follow us along wherever podcasts are available. Be sure to download the Law Firm Blueprint podcast. Give us a 5-star review on your platform of choice. And if you have any questions, be sure to DM either Seth or myself, or post them in the Law Firm Facebook group, which you should be a member of. That's going to do it for us. Bye for now.